whiskey lovers, and welcome to another one of Mark's Whiskey Ramblings. I'm at a friend's house and here I am sharing, because sharing is caring. This is Liquid History. What we are trying today is something very special indeed. Inver House Distillers actually built a grain distillery in 1964 in Moffat, the Moffat industrial estate, which is in Airdrie, about 20 kilometers east of Glasgow. They built a distillery there to produce grain whiskey. This is 1964. The grain whiskey would be called Garnheath. But as with many distilleries in that time, in that era, they also installed pot stills to produce no less than 3 single malts. One of them was Glen Flagler, the other one Killyloch, and then there also was Islebrae. Now Islebrae was never bottled, so everything that was produced under the name of Islebrae went to the blenders. Killyloch you can only find with Signatory, or maybe a few other independent distillers. But Glen Flagler actually was produced and put out on the market in the 1970s, so liquid history. Now fast forward to 2019, and a friend of mine in Holland by the name of Jan, he discovers 2 cases of Glen Flagler in his basement. And he asked me, would you like one? And I said, are you kidding me? So I got me 2 of these, and as you can see, well, they come from a basement that was rather humid because there's no labels left. On this one you can somewhat make out what it looked like, but I'm going to show you a picture of a bottle in pristine condition so that you can make yourself an idea of what this Glen Flagler 5-year-old actually looked like. But this is actually a lowland single malt. It's a rare all malt. It's what it says on the label, a rare all malt, 100% Scotch, 5 years old, a lowland single malt, bottled in the 1970s, and according to the bottle code, this one 1972, 73, 74. Truth be told, I was born in 1970, so you can imagine this is quite special for me. As you can see, I have already poured this Glen Flagler because when I tried it at first, I discovered that it needed to breathe for at least 15 minutes before it could really get rid of a little bit of OBE, old bottle effect, and then really show itself. So this has been poured about 10 minutes ago, just before I started filming this rambling for you, and now it has in fact breathed, so now it is time to discover this Glen Flagler 5 years old single malt from the lowlands, liquid history, because the distillery closed in 1985. So 64, 85, only 21 years. This is liquid history. This Glen Flagler 5 years old was bottled in the 70s and is bottled at 40% ABV, the minimum, which was usual in that time of in that time in history. You can see that the color is it's a pale golden. It's even more or less white wine or straw, a very light colored single malt, bottled at 40% ABV on the nose. Well, it certainly isn't. It isn't kaput, so to speak. It is very spring fresh. It is very much alive and kicking. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. I get some lemongrass, vanilla and gooseberries, and there's even this. It's hard to pinpoint, but there is that a touch umami there, like a fresh slice of roast beef. But this is very much alive and textbook lowland, and actually it's quite nice. On the palate then. Again, quite fresh. Fresh on lemons. A single day. I get some apricots, some vanilla, lemongrass, gooseberries. Definitely gooseberries. So very, very, actually quite typical for lowland. Very accessible, a spring in your glass, very easy drinking, very quaffable, and simply lovely. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's even got this a little peppery kick in there still. Some white pepper, some licorice. Very nice indeed. On the finish then. The finish is medium long, not overly long, medium. But the malt becomes quite creamy. Lovely. Consider the fact that this has been in this bottle for 45 years after only 5 years in the cask. I mean, pretty amazing, and still very much alive, very fresh, very lively, and simply a beautiful lowland whiskey, a typical classical lowland whiskey. But truth be told, it's only the second Glen Flagler that I tried. It's a lovely one, even though it's only matured for 5 years. But this is liquid history. If you can find this one, it'll probably be at an auction. You're going to have to fork over around 300 euros, which is a bit much for what this is, obviously. But if you get a chance to try this one, maybe at a festival, or a friend like me who's got a bottle, go for it. This is really liquid history, still very much alive. Lovely, fresh spring in your glass. What's not to like? And that's all for this Whiskey Rambling, and I hope to see you at one of Mark's Whiskey Ramblings real soon. And until then, may the malt be with you.